I'm excited to get started with today's webinar, Preparing for Your First Job. Taking that first step into the workforce can be a daunting experience, and you may be wondering how to create a strong resume if you've never worked before, or what information you should include in a cover letter. Well, today we'll walk you through how life or volunteer experiences can help your resume shine, putting together a compelling cover letter, and how to stand out in the interview process. Today, my colleagues Jenna Gilio, Maeva Kadjo, and Sarah Snyder will walk you through all of this and more. So without further ado, I'll pass it on over to them.
Thank you so much, Maxine, for kind of getting us started. So we are going to kick off our session today by examining some of the top skills employers are seeking today. We'll also cover how to build your resume, even if you're lacking job history. We'll discuss the importance of storytelling and how to prepare those stories ahead of time. Then later in the session, we'll share how you can build a compelling cover letter and some different strategies you can use to help you stand out during the interview. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting your first job search comes with so many emotions. While some of you may be feeling excited and kind of ready to hit the ground running, many of you are probably feeling a little bit overwhelmed and anxious about the job seeking process. One really common fear that many first time job seekers share is that they simply don't have enough work experience to impress an employer. Well, if that resonates with you, I have some good news. Most employers do not expect you to have an impressive resume just yet. What they're really looking for are your skills. According to a 2025 survey by the National Association of Colleges and Employers, the top 3 skills employers are looking for include problem solving, teamwork, and strong communication. So, whether or not you've had a job before, you probably already have some different experiences that you can draw from through school, group projects, sports, volunteering, or even part time jobs that demonstrate these skills in action. Employers want to see your potential and your willingness to learn.
At your resume and wondered, what do I even put on there? Or looked at a job listing thinking, I'm not qualified? That feeling is completely normal. But guess what? You already have more to offer than you think. Your strongest examples don't have to come from job titles, they are in what you've already done. Your life and volunteer experiences have a lot of value and show marketable skills that employers want. So, what type of experiences count? Let's review different types with quick examples. The first one is jobs. Any seasonal, part-time, or student jobs, you still want to include any of those in your job search, even if they don't seem relevant at the moment or related to the role you're looking for. They may come in handy later. Next, we have everyday experiences. Think about what you do every day outside of your professional goals, your personal goals, hobbies, travel, responsibilities, or helping family or friends. Did you plan a family trip or train for a 5K? Those experiences can be useful when reflecting on your career journey or answering questions about yourself, your background, or your interest. We also have clubs and activities. Think about how you've been involved in your community or your school and the clubs or organizations you're currently part of. Some examples include student, community, or professional organizations, sports, arts clubs, debates, and more. Next type of experience is community and volunteer service. This includes volunteering, community organizations, holiday or school supply drives, neighborhood associations, and other forms of civic engagement. Think about times where you contributed to a mission-focused project or organization, or times where you've shown up for others. The next one is leadership role. Think about your involvement again. Are you a mentor, team captain, or on a leadership committee? Leadership isn't just about titles, but also about taking initiatives. Reflect on when you've done that in various experiences. We also have learning activities. Are you taking in-person or online classes, participating in hackathons, learning a new language, or presenting a project at a conference? Or what did you learn by choice recently? Example of these can include classes, workshops, bootcamp, hackathons, conferences, language learning activities, and more. Then we have projects. Projects or entrepreneurship are a great way to show what you can do from start to finish. They can include small businesses or freelancing, personal projects such as building personal websites or portfolio, group or community projects, and even event planning. Next, we have content creation. Creating content is more than a hobby. If you're doing social media content, running your own blog, newsletter, YouTube channel, or podcasts, it's a great way to demonstrate communication, creativity, and consistency. Just remember to be mindful about what you post about and how that could impact your professional brand. We also have global experiences. So this includes study abroad, cultural exchange programs, moving abroad, international travel, language skills, or remote collaboration with people abroad. These experiences not only reflect your knowledge of other cultures and cultural intelligence, but also highlight skills such as adaptability and communication. Lastly, we have virtual job experiences. Have you done any try-the-job online programs or short-term online professional projects? This can include job simulations, project-based online experiences, micro-internships, and online externships. They give you a real-world insights into different professions and professional exposure. To help you gather all these experiences, we're going to review 2 ways to reflect on your life experiences and get content for the stories you tell during your job search. So the first way to do that is through an experience archive. An experience archive is a document or folder where you have all the info on everything you've ever done. Here you should include all the type of experiences I mentioned in the previous slides. You can start the experience archive with some free writing and listing every experience or activity you've done, then expand on each one. Each entry in the experience archive will include, firstly, basic information about the experience. So that would be the title or the role you had, the organization or company, dates, so where it happened, team and department, if applicable, scope and environment. So that would be at the hours per week, the tools you used, the people you worked with, and contact info from a few colleagues or a manager. Next, we have responsibilities. So that would be a short summary about what you've done or learned during the experience, and also any resume bullet points you ever written about this experience. After that, we add achievement with numbers. This section could overlap with the responsibility section, but it will focus more on any measurable impact or improvements you've made, goals you met or exceeded, or any recognition you received. Then we have reflection and lessons learned. That will be a short summary of your reflection of the experience, what you learned, and how it contributed to your career or skill development. Lastly, the last section is links or artifacts. Here you can keep any job descriptions, job offers, articles, photos, dashboards, designs, slides, recommendation letters. You can also keep writing samples or certificates, basically any documents linked to the experience that can help you in your job search. You can also add anything else you believe will be useful to you, and keeping all of this in one place is very useful when creating your resume, filling out applications, writing cover letters, networking, interviewing, and more. The second way to reflect on your experiences is to make a skill area map. If you want to focus more on identifying and highlighting skills from different experiences, this method may be for you. You start by listing the experiences you want to review, the skills you'd like to highlight, and then you jot down 1 to 3 words about an example of when you demonstrated this skill during the experience. Let's see an example. So in this table on the left, we have 3 experiences: outreach volunteer at Clear Skies, book club blog, and business case competition. And on the top, we highlighted 5 skills. So we have leadership, problem solving, communication or storytelling, teamwork and collaboration, and different tools you could have used. So for example, for the first one, outreach volunteer at Clear Skies for leadership, the trained and coordinated 12 volunteers. Problem solving, we listed ineffective outreach, communication, social media, and email campaigns, volunteers and partners for teamwork collaboration, and the tools that were used is social media platforms and Canva. For the book club blog, we did it similarly. For leadership, we don't have much, but we still have a lot for the other ones. So for problem solving, there's the content calendar, which you don't have to write too much in detail, but just enough to jot your memory. Writing and editing for communication, club members for teamwork, blogs, analytics, and Canva for tools. And we did the same for business scape competition right there. So it's a nice, quick way to remind yourself of what you did and jot your memory. This can later be expanded into stories or resume bullet points. You can also add more to your personal skill area map based on the industry you're trying to get to. You can also use AI to help you generate prompts based on these themes to even dive deeper into it and find out which skills you should prioritize based on the job you're looking for. So how do you turn one of those life or volunteer experiences and translate them into bullet points? A good resume bullet point is concise and highlights your achievements or contributions. It should also be relevant to the job you're applying to for and tailored to showcase your suitability for the position. The format I recommend using is action, project or problem, and results. You start with a strong verb that describes what you did, add the details necessary to describe what you worked on, and include a result to show your impact. Let's take the example from the outreach volunteer experience on the previous slide. In the skill area map, one of the experiences was trained and coordinated 12 volunteers. Based on that, we can draft a bullet point and start including more details. So this would become run a pilot program that trained 12 volunteers to teach Clear Skies science-based tools across community workshops. The second one, outreach strategy, would become designed and launch an outreach strategy for an online student mental health course, driving 73 enrollments for the first cohort. And the third one, social media and email campaigns, becomes posted cross-platform content, in parentheses, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, Instagram, to grow brand awareness and engagement. These are okay, but they could be better. Let's talk about how you can refine your bullet points and make them more impactful. Once you compiled your experience and skills and drafted your resume bullet points, you can leverage AI to create more impactful bullet points. This can save you time in the resume writing process and show you different ways you can rewrite your bullet points. Those tools can improve them: clarity, conciseness, action words, impact, and alignment with the roles you're applying for. While you can use a reliable AI writing tool such as ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity, and write great prompts to get impactful resume bullet points, I recommend using AI resume builder tools. You can also build your resume using those tools, but the feature I want to highlight today are the bullet point generators. There are many tools available, but I only highlight 2 today. The one on the slide currently is Consulting AI's Resume AI tool, which has a bullet point generator. All you need to do is enter your role, the bullet point you drafted, or describe your work experiences in a sentence or two, as seen in the first image, then click generate, and then you get multiple bullet points allowing you to pick the best or combine them and go from there. The second tool is JobScan's Resume Bullet Point Generator. This tool creates bullet points by analyzing your experiences, skills, and job descriptions of jobs you're interested in. It matches your skills and qualifications to the job and highlights your achievements. To use job scans tools, you need to upload a resume draft, add your job description from a job listing you're interested in, and as you can see on the right, click on a skill to generate bullet points. It gives you multiple options for how to include or highlight these skills in your experience. There are so many more kinds of resume bullet points generators out there. One like Consulting AI focuses on creating resume bullet points using your experience, while those like Job Scans focuses on bullet points that match with the skills and keywords of the jobs you're interested in. I also encourage you to check out other features such as resume templates, resume score, or optimization. And while AI can create impressive resume bullet points, you should always refine your AI-generated bullet points to ensure accuracy and impact and maintain your own voice. So let's use Consulting AI's resume bullet point generator as an example. We'll use the first bullet points from the outreach volunteer example. After adding the role and our draft resume bullet points, we'll click generate and we'll get those 3 resume bullet points that you can see on the right side of the image. So the first one is developed and executed a comprehensive training curriculum for 12 volunteers, resulting in a 40% increase in workshop engagement and enhancing the delivery of clear sky science-based tools to diverse community groups. The second one is coordinated over 30 community workshops, empowering volunteers to effectively educate more than 600 participants on climate resilience strategies, which contributed to a 25% uptick in local environmental awareness. And lastly, it generated, monitored, and evaluated program outcomes through workshops, post-workshop surveys, achieving a volunteer proficiency improvement rate of 35%, thereby ensuring consistency and quality in tool dissemination across all sessions. So we don't want to copy and paste those bullet points, but we use them more as inspirations or tools to reflect on what else we could include in our own bullet points. From these options, you can take what you like, such as the action verbs, wording, content idea, impact, or sentence structure. Let's say we like the action verbs developed and executed from the first bullet point, and the details about proficiency in the org tools from the third bullet point. And we also remember that we have information on how the training program improved feedback scores from our experience archive. So we take our first bullet points, we edit the action verbs and add more about the impact. And after the edits, it becomes developed and executed a comprehensive training program for 12 volunteers, enhancing the proficiency in clear sky science-based tools and achieving a 25% increase in workshop feedback scores. So this is how I will encourage you to use AI bullet point generators. They're also really useful when you have writer's block or don't know what to write about an experience or need some feedback. So how do you format experiences that are not work experiences on your resume? When adding those experiences, you can create separate sections from them, such as relevant experiences, community involvement, volunteer experience, leadership and service, or projects, depending on what's more applicable to you. And you format them just like you will format your work experiences. And if you still have some space on your resume, you can add any of these optional sections that can complement your experiences, such as hobbies and interests, languages, awards and certifications, or also professional organizations. So let's see the resume ready entry for the outreach volunteer example. So the title of the section in this case will be volunteer experience. Then we'll add the org, job title, location and dates, and lastly the bullet points. To recap how we got here, we started with a volunteer experience at a nonprofit. mapped it to different skill areas, drafted resume bullet points based on the skill mapping. We refined those using an AI resume bullet points generator and added more metrics. And now we have a final draft with the title, org, and date. Even though I called it a final draft, you can keep updating the bullet points throughout your job search, especially if you want to tailor your resume to your target roles or industries, or incorporate additional feedback. Talking about additional feedback, it's important to get a resume review from someone. This could be a career advisor, mentors, friends, or family. Reviewers catch different things such as typo and clarity issues that you may not have noticed. And this is really helpful, especially when you've been looking at your resume for a long time and need another set of eyes on it. This is also great if you want to review what your AI tool suggested for you. With Tutor.com, you can attend resume and career helps tutoring sessions, during which you can share your resume and get feedback and guidance on resume language and bullet points, formatting, and more. Additionally, tutors can help you draft cover letters, practice your interview skills, and assist with job search strategies. You also have access to career resources such as cover letter and resume templates and career assessment tools. You can work with a tutor at any point of your job search, even if you don't have a complete resume yet or are still trying to make sense of your experiences. Now, I'll pass it on to Sarah, who will discuss why storytelling matters in your job search.
When you're new to the job market, it's easy to think you don't have enough experience to impress an employer. But here's the truth. Employers don't just want to see a list of skills on paper. They want proof. They want to hear stories that show you've actually used those skills. Stories make you memorable and credible. Anyone can claim they're a good communicator or problem solver, but when you share a story that proves it, suddenly you stand out. And the best part, you don't need years of job history to do this. You already have stories from your school projects, your volunteer work, even life experiences. One of the best tools for shaping your stories is called the STAR method. STAR is a simple formula you can use to organize your thoughts and make sure your story makes sense. So S is the situation. Here you're setting the scene. What was going on? T is the task. What was your role or what needed to be done? A is the action. What did you do step by step? And R is the result. What happened because of your actions? If you remember STAR, you'll always have a clear beginning, middle, and end to your story. Let's look at an example. I'm going to be focusing on how we can use STAR stories in our cover letters, and Jenna will address using them in our interviews later. But for a moment, consider this scenario with me. Imagine that you're asked about a time that you worked on a team. A vague answer might sound like, I worked on a project with classmates once. Well, that doesn't give the employer much to go on. They don't know what the project was, what role you played, or what skills you used. It's forgettable. But what if we take that same situation and put it into STAR format? The question is the same, but instead you respond with a story. In a group project with no leader, I noticed we were starting to fall behind, so I suggested we assign roles based on strengths. We created a timeline to keep us organized. I also checked in with each teammate as the deadline got closer. And as a result, we finished early, we earned an A, and our teacher praised us for our teamwork. See the difference? Suddenly, we know exactly what you did and what impact it had. That's the power of STAR. Here we can see each part of the STAR story broke down. The situation is that there's a group project with no leader and they're falling behind. The task is to assign roles and create a timeline to address this situation. The action taken was to focus on strengths when assigning the roles and to check in with the teammates for accountability to the timeline. The results are finishing early, earning an A, and receiving praise from the teacher. So how do you build STAR stories? Well, start by brainstorming experiences. Go through the categories Maeva shared in all her clouds as a great way to find experiences across many different areas. Then pick 3 to 5 of those experiences that really show off important skills, like the ones Jenna showed us that were hot skills for employers. teamwork, problem solving, communication. Other things to show off with a star story would be integrity, dependability, initiative, or creativity. Then outline those stories with the STAR framework and try to maintain a repository. You can even add your STAR outlines to your experience archive so they're ready to pull out as needed. Here are 3 quick examples of STAR stories, or more STAR outlines. First up is an example from volunteer service. So we're going back to that Clear Skies volunteer experience. With this first one, see if you can recognize the similarities between this STAR story and Maeva's sample bullet point about the outreach volunteer role at Clear Skies. So the situation is that Clear Skies was experiencing ineffective outreach. The task was that you were asked to use your experience to build a volunteer training program. Your action was that you trained 12 volunteers on effective outreach strategies. And the result was that 25% increase in workshop feedback scores. This shows how a good bullet point can follow the STAR framework also, and a good bullet point can be built out into a STAR story. Let's look at our second example. This one comes from a school project. So in a group science project, we were falling behind schedule. Seems to be a common theme in a lot of school projects. The task is to make sure that we met the deadline and that we did well on the project. You further divided the timeline, maybe made it more granular, checked in with everyone regularly to build up accountability. And in the end, you finished on time and the teacher praised your teamwork. Last, we'll look at an example from personal responsibility. Remember, you don't have to have job experience to be able to apply this. So here is our situation where your younger sibling is struggling with their math homework. You decide to step in, help explain concepts, basically provide some tutoring. You break the problem into steps, use visuals, practice with them. Their grades improve from a C to a B+. You've demonstrated results from your actions, and they feel more. Notice that we don't need a lot of words to outline a STAR story. We aren't actually telling the story here. We're just storing up enough information to jog our memory later about the key elements to our stories. More than likely, you're probably thinking right now about how STAR stories translate to a job interview, answering those "tell me about a time when" kinds of questions. And you'd be right, they do. But did you know they apply first to your cover letter? In your cover letter, your STAR story could be what makes a hiring manager or resume screener even pick up your resume in the first place. So let's talk more about that cover letter. Your resume lists your skills and experiences, but your cover letter is where you get to connect the dots. It's your chance to show an employer not just what you've done, but why it matters and why you're excited about this job. Especially if you don't have a long work history, the cover letter gives you space to explain how your volunteer, school, or personal experiences make you a strong candidate. These are 4 elements of a great cover letter. First is your voice. This is your chance to sound like a human rather than like a list of bullet points like you do on a resume. It's where your personality shows up. Your voice, how you express yourself, gives the reader that first impression. So be professional, but write like yourself. Second is fit. This is where you show employers that you are what is missing from their team. You match your skills and stories to the job posting to show that you're a great fit for the role, the team, and the company. You have the opportunity here to show how your experiences, regardless of where they came from, have prepared you for this specific role. For example, you might say, organizing a school fundraiser taught me how to manage details and work with a team, skills I know will help me in customer service. Third is enthusiasm. In your cover letter, you can share why you want this job, not just a job. Employers notice when a cover letter feels copy-pasted. Genuine enthusiasm sets you apart because most candidates don't take the time to show it. For example, you might focus on something about the company's mission resonating with your goals. Something like, I admire your company's commitment to supporting local families, and I'd love to contribute my skills to that mission. Last is connection. This is the bridge between your story and the employer's needs. You're connecting the dots for the employer between what they see on your resume and what they are looking for. Instead of making them guess how your experiences are relevant, you show them exactly why you belong on their team. For example, you might say, by tutoring younger students, I learned to explain complex ideas clearly. These are the same skills I would use in helping your customers. A strong cover letter also has 4 simple parts. The first part is the greeting. If possible, address it to a real person instead of to whom it may concern. Try to be personal if possible. Places you can look to find a specific name include the company's website, LinkedIn. If it isn't obvious, you can often find the name of the team in the description and address your cover letter to the team. Next is the opening. This is your hook. Show enthusiasm for this specific role in your own voice and explain why you're excited about this particular company or this particular position. Then comes the body. This is where you share 1 or 2 star-style mini stories that highlight the skills the employers want. You show you're fit for the role and help the employer make the connection between your skills and what they're looking for. Finally, we have the closing. Wrap it up with confidence, thank them for considering you, and let them know you'd love the opportunity to interview. You might be wondering, what do I even write about if I haven't had a job yet? The answer is transferable skills. We've kind of been talking around that this whole time here. These are skills that you have developed in all those experiences we've been talking about. Things like the teamwork, planning, and organization that were developed by the bake sale you organized, or the communication, leadership, and mentorship you demonstrated when putting together a study group for your classmates, or your skills and responsibility and time management when you cared for your siblings and played the role of extracurricular chauffeur. All of these are experiences worth talking about if you follow the STAR framework. Here's an example of a weak cover letter. Dear hiring manager, I am applying for the customer service assistant position at your company. I am a hard worker and work well with people. I think I would be a good fit for your team. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Taylor Thompson. While it has a greeting, it mentions being a good fit, and it ends with gratitude, notice that there is no enthusiasm and no evidence of being a hard worker or working well with people. Those feel like claims anyone could make. A strong cover letter will provide proof to back up those claims. That's where your STAR stories come in. This is just too generic without any reason for the employer to believe that you're someone special. So here's an example of a stronger cover letter. Dear Bennett Gardner, I am excited to apply for the customer service assistant position at North Networks. I admire your company's commitment to supporting the community, and I would love to contribute my skills in communication and teamwork. In my volunteer role at the local food bank, I welcomed dozens of visitors each week and helped organize supplies. I learned how to stay calm under pressure and make sure everyone felt valued and supported. In a school project, I also coordinated a group of classmates to meet a tight deadline, showing my ability to keep a team on track and motivated. I would welcome the opportunity to bring this same energy and dedication to your team. Thank you for considering my application, and I look forward to the chance to interview. Sincerely, Taylor Thompson. Notice the difference between this one and the last one. There's enthusiasm. There's customization to the hiring company and the person that it's being addressed to. There are specifics about why this person is enthusiastic about this company and about this position. And there's STAR story evidence that this person has skills that are being claimed here and in the resume. Notice how much more convincing this version is. It connects enthusiasm, specific skills, and real experiences. A few quick tips to make your cover letter shine. First, keep it short. 1 page is plenty. Just stick to the main points. Second, mirror the language of the job posting. If they're looking for teamwork or customer service, use those same words. Don't try to say the same thing, but with different words. Be genuine in your enthusiasm and explain where it's coming from. Employers can tell when you actually care. Proofread. A clean, Error-free letter shows attention to detail. Errors could mean an immediate trip to the garbage can. And last, use AI wisely. While AI can be helpful with developing your star stories or helping you analyze a job posting to know which star story to include, it is easy for employers to spot a cover letter that's written by AI. So stick with writing your first draft in your own voice and only use AI for feedback. So here's the bottom line. Your cover letter is your voice on the page. It's where you bring the star stories into writing and show why you're not just applying for a job, you're excited about this job. If you can do that, you'll immediately stand out, even if your resume is short. As promised, Jenna's now going to connect the STAR framework to the interview stage of your job search.
So earlier, we established that the top 3 qualities employers in 2025 are seeking include problem-solving skills, teamwork, and communication. So how can you demonstrate those qualities in an interview? Let's explore some simple but effective strategies that can help you stand out to employers even in your very first interview. One of the best ways to stand out to an employer is to show up prepared. Now, this might sound obvious, but nearly half of hiring managers say that they've rejected a candidate simply because they didn't seem to know much about the company. So, before your interview, take some time to look at the company's website. Read about their values, their mission, maybe even check their social media to see what they've been working on recently. Then, think about how your own experiences connect to what matters to them. And preparation goes beyond just researching the company. You should also prepare a handful of questions that demonstrate your genuine interest and curiosity. Instead of asking something generic like, what does the day-to-day look like? Try something more specific like, what does success in this role look like in the first 90 days? Or how does your team measure that success? Another way to stand out to employers is to share your experiences in a way that highlights those sought after skills. The stories you choose and the way that you share them are what help employers see your potential and remember you after the interview is over. Sarah shared about how you can use the STAR method to effectively share your story in your cover letter. Well, like she mentioned, those same principles apply in an interview. Many employers will ask you behavioral questions, things like, tell me about a time you solved a problem, or give me an example of working on a team, to get a better picture of your fit for the role. By structuring your response to these questions using the STAR method, you can ensure that your answer is clear, focused, and more likely to make an impact. So let's take a look at an example. Imagine an employer asks you, tell me about a time that you had to utilize problem-solving skills. Start with the situation. In my student volunteer role, our team struggled to meet deadlines. Then share the task. I needed to organize tasks more effectively. What was the action? I introduced a shared Google Sheet and weekly check-ins. And don't forget to share the result. We delivered early and improved collaboration. This framework can certainly help you share your story with a bit more clarity and confidence. But as Sarah mentioned, it's still a good idea to have a few STAR stories prepared ahead of time. That way, no matter what question you're asked, you've got a response ready to go. So here's an example of what this might look like in practice. Let's say one of the stories I prepared ahead of time comes from my previous job working at a coffee shop. One morning, our system went down during the morning rush, and we had a long line of customers waiting. I had to step in quickly, keep people calm, and make sure orders were still taken while the manager worked on the issue. That's my story. Now, let's imagine I'm in an interview, and the employer asks, tell me about a time you had to problem solve under pressure. Now, I know this question is really asking me about my problem solving and possibly even my communication skills, and my story demonstrates both of those skills. So using the STAR method, my answer might sound something like this. In my previous role at a coffee shop, our point of sale system went down during the morning rush, and we had a line of frustrated customers. I needed to keep things moving and prevent the situation from escalating. So I quickly started taking orders by hand. I used a calculator for totals, and I reassured customers that their orders would be coming soon. Meanwhile, I communicated with my manager so that she could focus on fixing the system. The line kept moving, customers appreciated the communication, and by the time the system came back online, we hadn't lost a single customer. That's the power of having your stories ready to go. Once you know what skills an employer is really asking about, you can adapt your story to fit the question that's being asked of you. What you say during an interview is important, but how you say it can make just as much of an impression. So let's turn our focus to how to effectively communicate, both verbally and non-verbally, in an interview. First impressions happen fast. Research shows interviewers often make up their mind about a candidate within the first minute. That's why it's important to start with a clear and confident introduction. A great way to do this is to prepare a short elevator pitch, about 30 seconds where you share who you are, what you've done, and what excites you most about the role. Now, it's normal to feel nervous and slip into using filler words like or like a lot. But too many filler words can make you sound less prepared and polished. So instead, if you feel stuck, simply pause and take a breath. A moment of silence comes across as much more confident, and it also allows you a moment to gather your thoughts. Sometimes you'll get asked about something that you don't have direct experience with. So instead of saying, I don't know, try, I haven't encountered that yet, but here's how I would approach it. That small shift shows that you're willing to learn. And that's exactly what employers want to see in a first-time hire. And finally, be mindful of your tone. Speak at a steady pace, try not to rush even when the nerves say otherwise, and choose confident language. Avoid phrases that downplay your contributions, like, I just helped with, and instead say, I contributed by. Even small changes in phrasing can make a big difference in how you come across to employers. Equally important is how you present yourself and communicate through your body language. Employers take note of your nonverbal communication often before you've said a single word. Now, this seems obvious, but you want to be intentional about your eye contact. Maintaining steady, natural eye contact shows confidence and interest in the role. Now, you don't need to stare, just aim to look at the interviewer while they're speaking and when you're answering a question. And if you're doing a virtual interview, this can be a little trickier. The best way is to occasionally look directly at the camera and not just at the screen the whole time. That mimics eye contact and makes you seem a little bit more engaged and present. Be mindful of your posture. Sitting up straight with your shoulders relaxed communicates confidence. Slouching or crossing your arms can make you look disinterested, even if you don't feel that way. Hand gestures can also add energy to your words, as long as they're natural and not too distracting. Think of gestures as a way to emphasize your points, but don't overdo them. A friendly smile at the start and end of the interview goes a long way. While the interviewer is speaking, nodding occasionally shows that you're listening and engaged. These little cues send the message that you're approachable, you're confident, and you're ready to be a part of a team. And if your interview is virtual, all of these nonverbal cues matter even more because the interviewer can only see you through a small screen. So ample lighting, a quiet space, and making sure you're nice and centered on camera all add to your first impression. Thank you all so much for joining us today. That's all we have. We hope that you've been able to put your mind at ease about your first job search by giving you some different tools that you can use to help you stand out until you do have some more work experience to highlight on your resume. So with that, we will turn it back over to Maxine to open up for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So before we get to the Q&A, I did just want to highlight one, here are our socials. So if you ever want to see what other webinars we're running and just keep on top of, what's coming up in the future, please feel free to follow us on social media or go to the webinar hub, which is just tutor.com/webinars, and you'll be able to see all of our upcoming webinars there. As well as you can scan this QR code for our upcoming webinar next month. Now, in terms of questions, we did see one come in, and it was asking at what point should you stop using clubs, activities, volunteer positions, or other non-work experience in your resume? Is it okay to use these to round out your applications 2, 3, or more jobs in?
That's a great question. I think a lot of that depends on how recent that experience is and how relevant it is to the job that you're doing. Like there are high school clubs, there are college clubs, but there are adult things that you are involved in parallel to your work experience, right? So I think it would depend on how relevant it is and how recent it is. At some point, yeah, stop including things that you did in high school. And then at some point, maybe stop including some of the stuff that you did in college. But we're talking way down the road. If you're sitting here with not much on your resume yet, I would include those things because they're going to speak to your character and your desire to do more than just the bare minimum. Like I went to high school and that's all I did.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. So again, you will get this recording in the next couple of days that you can always review. You'll also get the PowerPoint slides so you can take a look at all of those references that we showed just earlier. But thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the evening.
Thank you all.